In the summer of 2002, a football team crossed an ocean and gave the world something it had been quietly waiting for. The yellow shirts, the movement, the names that felt less like a squad and more like a constellation. That Brazil team did not simply win the World Cup. They made it feel inevitable from the very first match, as if the entire Asian summer had been arranged to end with Ronaldo's arms in the air in Yokohama. This is where they all went. The 2002 FIFA World Cup was held jointly across South Korea and Japan, the first time the competition had been staged in Asia. Brazil arrived under Luiz Felipe Scolari, a manager whose directness gave a squad full of individual brilliance a structure to operate within. Brazil delivered. They beat Turkey, China, Costa Rica, Belgium, England, Turkey again, and then Germany 2-0 in the final in Yokohama. Ronaldo scored both. 18 goals scored across 7 matches. 4 conceded, 7 wins from 7. When the final whistle came on the 30th of June 2002, Brazil had their 5th World Cup title. Number 1 is Ronaldo, and the entire tournament begins and ends with him. He was 25 years old and at Internacional, carrying more than expectation. The 1998 World Cup had taken something from him. A medical episode the night before the final in France, followed by serious knee injuries that raised genuine questions about whether he could ever be the same player. He made the squad, and then across 7 matches in Korea and Japan, he answered every question the game had asked of him. 8 goals, the Golden Boot. 2 goals in the final against Germany in Yokohama. After 2002, he moved to Real Madrid and won La Liga, and remained one of the most famous footballers on the planet until injuries ended his playing career in 2011. Ronaldo was not supposed to make it back from 1998. The 2 goals in Yokohama are the most complete answer the game has ever produced to that kind of doubt. Number 2 is Ronaldinho, who was 22 years old and at Paris Saint-Germain. The moment the 2002 World Cup gave him was the free kick against England in the quarter-final in Shizuoka. David Seaman was in goal. The angle looked safe. The ball curved over the England goalkeeper and into the net. Earlier in that same match, he had assisted Rivaldo's equalizer to bring Brazil level. He was sent off later in the game and missed the semi-final against Turkey, but none of that changed what the free kick had already meant. After the tournament, he moved to Barcelona in 2003. He won the Ballon d'Or, the FIFA World Player of the Year 2004 and 2005, and the UEFA Champions League with Barcelona in the 2005-2006 season. He retired in 2018. That free kick in Shizuoka belongs in any honest conversation about the greatest moments the World Cup has ever produced. Number 3 is Rivaldo, who was 30 years old and at Barcelona, already the holder of the Ballon d'Or and the FIFA World Player of the Year award from 1999. 5 goals in the tournament. A relentless threat that gave Scolari's system a second attacking dimension. His goal against Belgium in the round of 16 was one of the cleaner finishes of the competition. In the quarter-final against England, it was Rivaldo who brought Brazil level before Ronaldinho's free kick sealed the result. After 2002, he won the UEFA Champions League with AC Milan in 2003 and continued across several clubs before retiring in 2015 at 43. The quiet genius of the attacking line, the left-footed certainty in the moments that mattered most. Number 4 is Cafu, who captained Brazil through all 7 matches and understood exactly what he was holding when that trophy was lifted in Yokohama. He had been in the squad that won the title in 1994. He had played in the final in France in 1998. Now at 32 and playing club football for Roma, he completed the journey. After 2002, he played for Milan, retired in 2008, and has since worked as a football ambassador. Some of the contributions that made this title possible were made in positions and moments that the scoreboard never records. Some of the most essential work in that tournament happened in places the camera rarely lingered. Number 5 is Roberto Carlos, who was 29 years old and at Real Madrid and at the height of what he could do on a football pitch. The left side of Brazil's shape in that tournament belonged entirely to him. His pace, his aggression going forward, and the threat he carried from set pieces made him one of the most difficult players any opposition had to account for. After 2002, he continued at Real Madrid before later playing for Fenerbahce, Corinthians, and Anji Makakala. He has since worked in coaching, management, and ambassadorial roles, one of the most iconic attacking full-backs in the history of the game. Number 6 is Gilberto Silva, who turned 25 during the competition and was playing for Atlético Mineiro. His role was the foundation beneath everything. He was the defensive midfielder behind Ronaldo, Rivaldo, and Ronaldinho. He won the ball. He absorbed the pressure that would otherwise have reached the players, creating the moments in the highlights. After 2002, he joined Arsenal and became part of the squad that went the entire 2003 to 2004 Premier League season unbeaten. He has since worked as a pundit and ambassador. The midfielder nobody mentioned by name in Yokohama was doing the work that made every other name possible. Number 7 is Marcos, the goalkeeper and the most loyal figure in the squad. He was 29 years old and had spent his entire career at Palmeiras. He was Scolari's choice for every minute of every match, and the composure he brought to the position gave the defensive structure a calmness it depended upon. He kept the clean sheet in the final against Germany. After 2002, he stayed at Palmeiras and retired in 2012, having never played for any other club. the goalkeeper who never left, stood between the posts for Brazil's 5th World Cup title. Number 8 is Dida, the backup goalkeeper who was 28 and at Corinthians. His role was to prepare to push Marcos in training and to be ready. After 2002, his career elevated significantly. He became Brazil's first-choice goalkeeper for the 2006 World Cup cycle and had major success at AC Milan. He retired in 2016. The backup in 2002 became one of the most accomplished goalkeepers in the world. Number 9 is Rogerio Ceni, the third goalkeeper and one of the most genuinely unusual figures in the history of Brazilian football. He was 29 and at Sao Paulo. His minutes in the tournament were the most limited of the 3 keepers, but his story demands attention. Rogerio Ceni was a goalkeeper who scored goals, not occasionally but as a recognized weapon, finishing his career as the highest-scoring goalkeeper in football history. He retired from playing in 2015, moved into management, and won the Brazilian championship with Flamengo in 2020. The third goalkeeper in a World Cup winning squad became one of the most distinctive careers the game has produced. If you watched Brazil that summer and still think about those 7 weeks in Asia, leave a comment with the player who stayed with you longest. And if these retro World Cup stories are what you want to keep watching, subscribe now. Number 10 is Calais Berson, who was 23 years old and at Atletico Paranaense. He was not a famous name before the tournament began, and that anonymity became part of what made him effective. He pressed, he recovered possession, and he gave the central midfield a combative intensity that protected the space the attacking players needed. After the tournament, his profile rose enough to earn a move to Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson in 2003. His time at Old Trafford was interrupted by injuries and he returned to Brazilian football. He arrived at the 2002 World Cup as a name few people outside Brazil recognized. He left it as a world champion. Number 11 is Roque Nair, the central defender who was 26 years old and at Milan. His role in the back line gave Scolari composure and reliability across the campaign. He read the game carefully and contributed to the defensive solidity that allowed the attacking players to operate freely. After 2002, his career continued at Milan and then moved through Leeds United and Bayer Leverkusen before a return to Brazil. Number 12 is Elcio, 24 years old and at Bayer Leverkusen, the youngest of the regular center-backs and already showing the physical dominance and technical confidence that would define the next decade of his career. He scored against Costa Rica in the group stage. His authority in aerial duels and his composure made him a central defender entirely at ease at the highest level. After 2002, his career moved to Bayern Munich, Internazionale, and Juventus. At Internazionale under José Mourinho, he became part of one of the most complete club teams of that era. Number 13 is Edmi Lawson, who was 26 years old and at Lyon, a player whose ability to operate across the back line and in central midfield gave Scolari options that a tournament of 7 different tests demands from a balanced squad. He adapted without making the change visible. After 2002, he continued at Lyon and then moved to Barcelona, where he won the UEFA Champions League in the 2005-2006 season. Number 14 is Anderson Polga, the central defender who was 24 years old and at Guard Mayo. His role was to provide depth and reliability, to be ready if the backline needed him. His later career took him to Sporting Clube de Portugal and Corinthians, among other clubs. The squad players who reinforce the foundations of a World Cup winning group rarely receive the recognition the first 11 does, but his presence was part of what made the group complete. Number 15 is Jade Nair, the left-sided defender who was at Parma and who gave Scolari experience cover behind Roberto Carlos. The competition for that role in that squad was fierce, and Jade Nair carried the professionalism and understanding that tournament football demands from every position. After 2002, he continued his club career before returning to Brazil, experienced left-sided cover in a squad built to attack from that flank, and a world champion alongside every other name on this list. Number 16 is Ricardinho, the midfielder at Corinthians whose inclusion in the final squad carries its own story. Emerson had been selected in the original group and was expected to be a central part of Scolari's midfield. An injury before the tournament ruled him out, and Ricardinho stepped in as his replacement. The late call-up entered a squad already preparing for the biggest competition in football and contributed to a campaign that ended with Brazil lifting the trophy. He was called up suddenly. He left as a world champion. Number 17 is Juninho Paulista, the attacking midfielder who was 29 years old and at Flamengo. His technical range had been shaped by European experience at clubs including Middlesbrough and Atletico Madrid. He gave Scolari a creative option from a different angle to the primary attacking players. After 2002, he continued in European and Brazilian football before moving into football roles away from playing. Number 18 is Vampeta, the defensive midfielder who was 28 years old and at Corinthians. His physical edge and accumulated experience gave Scolari another midfield option. A tournament of 7 matches requires depth in every position, and Vampeta was the harder midfield choice the squad carried. After 2002, he continued in Brazilian football, a combative squad player who was part of something the whole country still remembers. Number 19 is Eddie Elson, the forward and wide attacker who was 29 years old and at Cruzeiro. His pace and directness gave Scolari a different attacking option from the wide areas. In a squad with so much technical richness in the attacking positions, his role was to provide variety and a different kind of threat. After 2002, he continued in Brazilian football. Number 20 is Denny Olsen, the winger and attacking midfielder who was 25 years old and at Real Betis, having moved there from Sao Paulo in 1998, in one of the largest transfer fees in football history at that time. His flair and his capacity for the unexpected made him one of the most watched Brazilian players of his generation. In the tournament, his role was as a creative bench option, a player who could change the texture of a match in short bursts. After 2002, his career continued across several clubs before he became associated with Brazilian football media. Number 21 is Luizão, the striker who was 26 years old and at Grêmio, the backup option behind Ronaldo in the forward line. His physical presence in the penalty area gave Scolari a direct alternative when the match required something more immediate. Every World Cup winning squad carries the players who provided the depth the first choice relied upon, and Luizão was that player. Number 22 is Belletti, the right back who is 26 years old and at Sao Paulo, who spent the entire tournament in the shadow of Cafu. Cafu was one of the greatest players ever to occupy that position. Belletti's role was to prepare and be ready. The story of what came after gives his place in this squad a specific weight. In the 2006 UEFA Champions League final, playing for Barcelona against Arsenal, Belletti arrived in the penalty area and scored the goal that won the match. The right back who watched from the bench in Yokohama scored one of the most celebrated goals in the history of the Champions League final 4 years later. Number 23 is Kaká, who was 20 years old and at Sao Paulo and one of the youngest players in the squad. His minutes in the tournament were limited. He was there to learn, to be part of a winning environment at the earliest possible stage of a career, already pointing towards something exceptional. The years that followed showed exactly what that potential became. He moved to Milan after 2002, won the Ballon d'Or in 2007, the FIFA World Player of the Year in 2007, the UEFA Champions League with Milan. He later played for Real Madrid, Orlando City, and Sao Paulo before retiring in 2017. The youngest face on the edge of the 2002 squad became a Ballon d'Or winner 5 years later. There is a particular quality to the memory this squad left behind, and it is not simply 7 wins and a 5th title. It is the feeling that those matches in Korea and Japan captured something the game does not easily manufacture twice. Ronaldo completing the redemption that 1998 had made necessary. Ronaldinho sending a free kick across a Korean sky into a net in a way that changed his career in 90 seconds. Cafu holding a trophy he had already lost once before. Gilberto Silva doing the work that made every creative player free. Clay Burson pressing and contributing to something larger than his name suggested. Ricardinho called up because someone else got injured and leaving as a world champion. Some carried the biggest share. Some carried the smallest and guarded it just as carefully. But together, across 7 matches in Asia in the summer of 2002, they were exactly what Brazil had always expected them to be, the best team in the world.